Okay, the amazing realization of dimensional relativity. Um, it occurred to me I'm writing the next chapter for dimensional relativity, and it occurred to me that actually looking at the mechanics and fundamentals, we can actually start to explain the apertures in the Earth and the Sun's magnetic sphere. Um, yes, a highly charged positive, a highly charged positive electro stream directly and precisely focused at a magnetic field um, should have the capacity to, if focused at the correct point in the magnetic field, should have the capacity to jump into the lower order dimensions. What do I mean by jump into the lower order dimensions? Dimensional relativity, it's a fun topic. Explain it simply. If you can't explain it simply enough, you don't understand it well enough. Not all particles are three-dimensional or four-dimensional. You have particles that are three-dimensional, two-dimensional, one-dimensional. Essentially, everything that is four-dimensional is made up of particles that are less than 4 dimensions. I specifically define the fourth dimension as matter, not time. The fourth dimension is matter, mass, and the subject. But you can have mass. You can have particles that are made up of less than 4 dimensions, and in fact, spaces can be any number of dimensions. But the key is that you can break if you're traveling space, flattened space in 4 dimensions, it's going to take you X time. If you reduce the number of dimensions, and if you specifically reduce the correct dimension, it's going to be instantaneous travel. Because, even if you flatten space to 2 dimensions and you get rid of the dimension that is between you and where you're going, you can have instantaneous travel between you and that object. And all you've done is, because you've dropped into a lower dimensional order where that dimension isn't exist. Well, it does exist, where it isn't in the order of things. It's the best way to describe it. So, but the difference the difference being my green chair. The difference being that a highly energized particle would have a direct impact. It would punch through, and it would traverse wherever you're pointing. So, if another magnetic field if where you're pointing doesn't interact with another magnetic field, and the aperture won't open. However, herein is the next idea. If you have certain frequencies, and this is where it starts to sound more like science fiction, because at this point you're talking about opening portals in space. It's very familiar, very similar to your not quite your potentially your Star Wars, potentially your Babylon 5. Not quite. I don't know enough, pretend to know which one of those two it actually is, but one uses hyperspace. Well, they're both hyperspace actually, but one uses a jump gate, and hyperspace is a kind of realm, whereas the other one it's just a shortened distance between the two. I'm not going to pretend to even particularly understand which of the two could exist. I mean, they could potentially both exist, but when you're talking about opening apertures in space, that's in essence what you're talking about. You're opening a portal, and you're connecting it to. You ideally want to be opening a second portal to be able to get back out. Now the was it Alistair Reynolds? The places where these portals are going to be hugely manifest are, of course, gas giants and stars, because they have the biggest magnetic fields, and they also have they're the biggest objects. So actually pointing and hitting gas giants and stars is going to be much easier. Gas giants much safer, but stars obviously a lot easier to hit. So interstellar travel, traveling light years, star to star, is potentially going to be our way to the cosmos. However, the second aspect is the, how should we call it, your Stargate. Yes, your Stargate type thing, except without the actual Stargate, where the focused changing the frequency of both the magnetic field, atmospheric disturbances, and the frequency of the particles. In our case, it's the auroras. You could potentially open gates to apertures to other worlds without actually knowing where the world is. I mean, there's going to be science to it. That's currently beyond my understanding, but it's quite clear to see that you have a pulse from the sun, a solar flare from the sun, a particle stream from the sun can, if impacting at the right place at the right time, it can jump from the Earth's corona to our hemispheres, creating an aurora. And the aurora, if at the right place, right time, right atmospheric conditions, and right frequency, could potentially then open apertures to other planets. And so we have potentially a very, very natural. I mean, it's a one in a million chance that these apertures are created. But if you look how long the Earth existed, 4 billion years, the odds are that there's been apertures to countless planets, and the odds are at least one of them has been life. But when these happen, yes, it's just amazing that we might have the keys to go exploring strange new worlds already. Dimensional relativity it's an open bottleneck of worms, but they're all fascinating worms. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Wait for the book, wait for the next few papers. It'll be out there. Speak soon.